joy is an act of resistance. In these times, it's so easy to be sad about what's going on. And as an individual, we can't do that much. But I think actually, if we really honor ourselves and like figure out what is authentic to us and express that on a personal level, that really ripples across the communities we're in. And so that's kind of like the broader hope I have with Astrobabe.
This is Off the Shelf, where we take the most iconic beauty brands, products, and people in the beauty industry off the shelf and examine the stories behind the story. It's where beauty is treated like the economic, cultural, and power-building force it really is. I'm Susannah Dellinger, and here we're going to talk about what really shapes the industry, who holds the power, how decisions get made, and what it actually takes to build, scale, and quite frankly, survive in beauty. These are the conversations happening behind closed doors about money, relationships, risk, and cult moments. If you're building, breaking through, or trying to understand how beauty really works, or just love a really good story, you're in the right place. Welcome back to Off the Shelf. I am so excited to be in conversation today with Jenny, the founder of Astrobabe. You would be living under a rock or just not on TikTok if you have not seen the viral press-on eyeshadows. This is such a cool category. I cannot wait to get in, Jenny, to your story, to the disruption of the industry, and most importantly, with you addressing the inequality and inaccessibility of skill when it comes to beauty, which I think is such an interesting point. So before we dive in, I'd love to kind of peek back behind the curtain. Did you ever have this in the cards when you were going to, Wharton School of Business, where you're like, I'm going to be a beauty founder? Was that always the thing when you were growing up? Did you love beauty? Was it something you discovered accidentally along the way? What led you down this path?
I would say the industry was an accident in terms of beauty, but I have always wanted to be a boss. I wanted to do my own thing.
Yes.
So I'd say, my parents were both entrepreneurs. That influenced me a lot. And I just didn't know the way it would happen. I did work in a lot of institutions at the beginning of my career and then ended up at a beauty startup kind of by accident. And by virtue of being one of the first employees, kind of saw every part of building a beauty business, from the influencer stuff, from the ops, from product development. And so that by the time I went back to business school, I kind of was like, okay, maybe this is something I might pursue.
I love this. And it wasn't just any beauty startups. It was, if I'm not mistaken, Merit and Versed, which are very well-known brands. What was it like to be, to your point, one of the first employees at such now well-established brands?
Yeah, I feel so lucky and grateful for the experience. I had actually just rage quit my job on Wall Street and was looking. Yeah, I know there's so much drama. I was in the middle of applying to business school, and it's not a great look if you're unemployed whilst applying. And so I was like, I need to find a job while I'm still applying. Luckily, a friend was at Versed. He was head of finance, and he was about to leave. And he was like, hey, this might be a good opportunity for you. I went in basically to help them fundraise for their Series A. We raised $10 million. And so,
casual.
And well, it was a whole team effort. But we raised. And so again, I got to see literally building it from the ground up. We launched at Target nationwide, 1,800 stores. The team's incredible.
Small little indie retailer nobody's ever heard of.
I know. And so, Versed and Merit are kind of under the same holdco. So I started at Versed, and then when Merit launched a year or two later, was involved with that and the Sephora launch, and then made my way to business school.
I love this. So we have to rewind. I didn't send over these pre-questions, but I'm like, why did we rage quit Wall Street? I mean, like, I would rage quit Wall Street after like an hour simply because I'm like, listen. But what was the straw? What was the straw that broke the back for you?
So one of your questions was, did your path to beauty make sense to you or to others? And I'd say there's so much pressure on people to kind of like find their passion and pursue it, at least for me. And I was like, I don't know what my passion is. Like, I don't know how to identify that. And I think a lot of times you kind of just have to go through a process of elimination, and you kind of have to know what you absolutely don't want to do in order to kind of like navigate toward the thing you do want to do. And so I spent 3 years working on Wall Street. It was my first job out of college. It was just, I had a lot of pressure to kind of like go in that direction. I also went to Wharton for undergrad. And so most of the graduating class just ends up in finance or consulting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you probably don't have a lot of graduating class members that are also at beauty brands.
Yeah, I think now there might be more because there's so much, so much fun around it. But at the time, just a lot of finance and consulting. And so I went into Wall Street. I'm really grateful for my time there. I learned a lot, and it's obviously helped with the finance and ops side of building Astrobabe. But I'd say I tend to be more creative and adventurous. So I think the structure of Wall Street was not that helpful for me. I'm also, I kind of want to be in a creating mode. So by figuring out that I didn't want to do that, I kind of started exploring other things.
I love this so much. I want to talk about the kind of diversity representation of skill level that you talk about when it comes to Astrobabe. What made you kind of identify that gap that the beauty industry sort of has this barrier of entry, that if you want to play here, especially in makeup, that you have to kind of know what you're doing with brushes, watch some YouTube tutorials at the very least, but it's all kind of, this one level that you start at, right? And you looked at it and you're like, well, what about those of us that don't want to mess with that, but we do want to play and we want to have fun and express ourselves? What made you realize that huge gap?
Yeah, well, thank you first for doing your research and identifying that. I think a lot of people, when they first see Astrobabe, are like, oh, it's just like a fun brand. But I think when you look at beauty, we talk about inclusivity, and that's mostly been talked about in terms of skin tone, which is important. But I think there's no one has addressed this inclusivity of skill level. And the majority of makeup consumers are not makeup artists, are not professional beauty influencers, including me. And I think there's just such a need for, like, people really want to wear cool makeup looks or even daily wear, but they don't know how to do it. They don't want to watch the 45-minute YouTube tutorial. They don't want to like learn what 10 different brushes do. And even if they do, there are a lot of people who buy our product who like are super into makeup and they just want a quick option sometimes.
Yes.
So,
that would have saved my life today. I was stuck in a St. Patrick's Day parade late to the studio.
Oh, yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Eyeshadow in my car. I'm like, I need Astrobabe right now.
Yes, correct. I mean, it really started out of a personal problem. Like, I just never learned how to use makeup, and not to be gendered about it, but like, I was a huge tomboy growing up. Huge. Like, played all the sports, was always just rolling around in the mud, and I just never...
I love this.
Was never interested in makeup. And again, not to be gendered, you can be both. I just never learned, wasn't interested. My mom never taught me. But then by the time I became an adult and I was like, oh, I kind of want to try and learn, I was just like horrified by not being able to do it. So really started this out of my own personal issue.
I love this. Like, I made it for me.
Yes. And turns out millions of other people want it too.
Yes, I love this. You've also, if I'm not mistaken, have said that Astrobabe is a love letter to your inner child, right? So you've also talked about a little bit about, depression, anxiety that so many of us go through. I'm so curious, how did entering the beauty industry relieve any of that? Did it add to it? Was it a way for you to explore your inner child and have fun? As, kind of the outsider looking in, it looks like a lot of fun, but we also know what it is to be a beauty founder, and that is anxiety ridden. How have those two things kind of come to be in a collision?
Yeah, I'd say the mental health stuff has been, I think when I'm creating and expressing, I feel really happy and not that anxious. I think if I think about myself as like, oh, this player in a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry, like trying to make her, like that makes me more anxious, and I don't really I'm very like bottoms up. I'm like, okay, I'm just doing my thing, and this is healing for my inner child. And I think the way that I story tell around the brand, people feel really welcomed and invited into our story, and they feel like we are safe and they can do whatever they want and they can mess up and explore. So that kind of like keeps me going and makes it really worth it for me.
Oh, I love that. That is so beautiful. I am a big believer that the superpower of the beauty industry is play, expression, identity, experimentation versus the shadow side of the beauty industry that's unfortunately has grown around correction, assimilation, etc. And you do such a beautiful job of that with Astrobabe about it being joy and expression and never about correction, right? Obviously, that's been intentional. Does it, especially in times like we're in, does that feel political? Does that feel mission driven? Does that feel purposeful? Or does that just feel just aligned and just who you are?
It is aligned in who I am, and that joy is an act of resistance.
Amen.
In these times, it's so easy to be sad about what's going on, and we can feel like as an individual, we can't do that much. But I think actually, if we really honor ourselves and like figure out what is authentic to us and express that on a personal level, that really ripples across the communities we're in. And so that's kind of like the broader hope I have with Astrobabe. Like, by the way I live my life and the way I'm leading, other people can feel encouraged to like be safe in themselves and then express that outward.
I love that. I was just at an event with Gloria Steinem around beauty and feminism for Women's History Month. And one of the things that she talks about that stayed with me is that hope is one of the greatest acts of resistance. And I think joy, to your point, is also one of the greatest political acts we can do, right? So I'd love to, you have a little bit of a kind of people look at it and they go party, fun, rave when they look at it. And sometimes the beauty industry may not take that with as much seriousness or gravitas. And you look at it as just like, oh, that's for the fun party girl. Where do you see Astrobabe really positioning? How do you feel about the whole festival makeup, revolution that's happening right now? We see it with Phase It as well. And then I'd also have to follow up because I'm a massive football girl. And
Ooh,
I saw you did a collaboration with the New York Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
I'd love to know what led to that.
Yeah, so for your first question, the festival scene, that's where we launched because I love music. I'm I'm in that community. And again, out of authenticity, I wanted to create something for myself and my community. So a lot of our initial designs were, and I have some very obnoxious, colorful, like this is a psychedelic
No, that's
slimy thing.
amazing.
This is cow print. And so I just think the festival rave community is extremely expressive, and it felt like a natural entry point. That being said, so many people have found out what we're doing here that they're like, oh my God, we need this in other areas of our life. So we do have more everyday neutral wear kind of colors now. We came out with a neutral palette. This is my current favorite. Pink lemonade. It's very summery, very like this for Coachella. We're launching a pack soon.
Yes. Are you doing a pop-up at Coachella?
We will not be there this year, but we have obviously like a whole team of creators and
Yeah.
But yeah, I really see this not just as a festival brand, but as a fun, inclusive, accessible makeup option for people who want fast glam and don't want years of makeup practice to be involved. So yeah, we have like a lot of busy moms who, you were just in the car rushing to your event, like people just had kids and they like can't do a full makeup routine, or a lot of people in the disabled community can't use traditional makeup products because of hand tremors or circulation issues. You can't hold your hand above your heart for too long. They love Astrobabe for that reason. So yes, we're definitely growing outside the festival scene.
That's amazing.
And it's actually connected to the Buffalo Bills collab. Yeah. I met their makeup artist through a festival interaction. We collabed with her at a few festivals. She's she does the Buffalo Bills like Boulevard makeup for Tailgates. And so we came out with the Zubas Bills Mafia print 2 seasons ago. It's at every single home game in person, and also online. So I think any live event, again, where there's so much joy, natural expression, and community, that's where Astrobabe is.
Yes, I love this. I need like the Olympic hockey team, the rugby team, like all these amazing women's sports that are finally getting the attention they deserve. I'm like, they need Astrobabe because that is such a cool collision, I think, of, when like fun, expressive makeup and women being empowered to do like the type of stuff you grew up doing, like tomboy, running around, being dirty. Like you can do both, right? You can embrace that fun expression and joy and also go tackle somebody.
Yes, correct. And I think female fandom is such an exciting place to be because, the whole merch industry around sports has been like, oh, just make a smaller jersey or like make it pink, and it's like, okay, that's fine. Like, I still love my jersey, but like, let's create an actual product that like fans can wear on their eyes, express their team spirit, and like, I don't know, I think it's so fun.
I love this so much. I'm going to ask a selfish question because I am the mother of a part Asian child, and I believe obviously that representation matters deeply in every industry, but especially in beauty. I walk into Sephora with her because she is my daughter. So even at the age of 7, she loves her Sephora like a moth to the flame, and she will look for people that look like her. What does it feel like as a founder in the beauty industry representing, a AAPI founder? What does that mean to you? Is that something that obviously it's something that you think about? And also, is there anything that you feel that you had to let go of expectation wise to allow yourself to just really play and not feel that pressure of representation at the same time? Because that can also be a double-edged sword.
Yeah, great question. And thank you for this question. I do feel it is quite a responsibility and honor to, I think, represent other Asian women. I feel like my experience growing up, like this was not even something that crossed my mind. Like maybe there's just so much trauma that like I didn't even think about like seeing Asian representation in the spaces I was, and I grew up in a predominantly like white environment. Yeah, of course it's important seeing people who look like you in marketing campaigns, doing well, expressing themselves, being authentic. I think having reference points of people who look like you just expands what you think is possible for yourself. And so just doing my best to, again, live an authentic life for myself, and hopefully that ripples out to the others that are following along on the Astrobabe journey.
Absolutely. I love that so much. Thinking about retail, do you have any retail aspirations? Obviously, retail can be also a double-edged sword in terms of profitability, et cetera, but accessibility and people being able to see it and play with it in person, have you started to give consideration to what that dream would look like?
Yes.
If it is a dream.
Yeah, we are in Urban Outfitters. I think they're
such a perfect place too. That is such a fun, that is a festival customer right there.
Correct. I think the urban team is so good at spotting up and coming brands, and they're willing to take risks before a lot of major retailers. So I really appreciate the team there. I think with a larger retail launch, it's kind of not currently my focus, just because the product requires a bit more education than a typical beauty product because it's such a new form factor. And so I'm working on making sure that education translates in a retail format. So like you don't have, our thousands of Instagram videos to learn from. You have one shopping point where if someone's seeing it for the first time, it might be hard to grasp. So that's kind of what we're working through. But I think, yes, in an ideal world where we have that distribution.
I love that. I'm seeing so many interesting things happen with college bookstores on campuses. And that seems like an interesting, perhaps, place for Astrobabe. Yes. I don't know. I am such a retail girly that I'm like, please go into retail.
No, everyone's like, where can I get you in store? Because sometimes
I know, this is very, yes, I love it so much. Okay. TikTok, you guys have gone viral on TikTok. What have you learned from being on TikTok? What has surprised you about it? What would you say to a brand starting out? Everybody's chasing these types of viral moments. Obviously, we all know that you can't chase virality. It just happens. But what advice would you give from what you've learned so far?
Oh man, I should start a course on this. I think
100% you should.
not because I think I'm inherently good at it, but I think
It's
because
probably a question you get all the time.
I think because I've created such a structure around it that I do feel like I figured out a little bit of a formula. So I will share the secret sauce from what Astrobabe has learned.
Okay.
But basically, I made it a goal for us to post daily at least twice, which is a lot, I think, if people think about it. But I'm just very like system driven or pattern driven. So I'm like, okay, I just need to post as much as I can to see like if I can find patterns. And so eventually you get to the point of figuring out for you personally or for your brand, like what the right hooks are. So for us, it's this peeling off moment, this surprise and delight where people are like, oh, what is going on? So that hooks people in. And then we can bring in the education piece or the more entertainment piece. Of course, like figuring out trending audios. I think on TikTok is more trending audio focused. So you got to catch it in the moment versus Instagram is like, you can take your time with it. It's not.
Yes, because we're all on Instagram over 40. We're
I mean,
like,
we love
I don't
Instagram.
even have TikTok unless someone reposted on Instagram. I'm that age.
No, we started on Instagram. We have like the most followers on Instagram. Like for a long time had a very love-hate relationship with TikTok. So
I get it. Now it's love. It's all love. But TikTok. So you would say just consistency in posting so that you can get your data of what's working and analyze it.
Get your data. And then I think something we haven't been good at is like we have the data, but we haven't like doubled down on it because I like experimenting. So I'm like, oh, let's try this format. Let's do this. And it's like, okay, well, we do know what works. We should like focus a little bit on that.
Okay. I love that. That's very, very valid. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that there's a handwritten note that ships with every order. Is this true? And what made you start doing that?
That's awesome. So now that we've gotten bigger, I can't do it for every single one, but our first year in operations, I wrote and packed every single order.
That's unheard of.
Is it? I feel like a lot of
people pack their own orders, but to stop and write a handwritten note?
I've always kind of just been that way. It's not even out of, I do want to be close to people. That has always been my mode of expression. Even in second grade, I would write my teachers at the end of the year, like notes. I'm like, oh my God, like thanks.
I'm going to make my daughter start doing this or handwritten notes in second grade.
It's just always been a part of me. Like I enjoy writing and I think people can feel the energy of like what that means if it's authentic. And so it has been a way of connecting, and a lot of my early customers have their notes saved, and it's the notes I wrote saved. So I think it's been very profound and meaningful.
That's absolutely amazing. It reminds me a little bit of, they didn't do it themselves, but they taught everybody that worked for them, Bond number 9. Not sure if you're familiar with that fragrance company. To even interview to work at one of their retail locations, you have to pass a handwriting test, because they require you to send so many handwritten notes to customers on downtime because they believe in the power of a handwritten note. Because think about it, to your point, like people don't get mail anymore. I mean, we do, and it's like a bill or it's somebody who's soliciting. Like you don't get like a letter from your friend in another state.
Yeah,
like the mail isn't like, yeah, let me go check my mail, right? So to actually have something just really, I think, stands out in a very noisy, crowded marketing time. So I think that's amazing that you make that connection point.
Thank you. Yeah, I think authenticity wins at the end of the day, and whatever that is for you as a founder.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Okay, last question that I ask everybody, and it can be kind of a doozy of a one. As I mentioned, I'm a big believer in where beauty and feminism collide, and always love to hear what people think. Do you feel that the beauty industry can be a tool for feminism? And follow-up question, do you feel that there is anything that the beauty industry needs to do to close the gap on where it is now versus where it could become?
To answer your first question, yes, I do think beauty can be a tool for feminism. I study a lot of French philosophy. So Simone de Beauvoir, one of the OG, I don't know if she's an OG feminist, but the second sex obviously changed a lot of the ways that women viewed themselves. And the primary thesis there is that as a society, women kind of are decentered, right, to the male experience. We're always in reference to the male. And so it's very easy to see ourselves as an object in reference, in relation to a man. And so to me, feminism is like seeing yourself as subject. You are the subject of your own life. And if beauty can play a part in that, that's cool. That's great. If it doesn't, that's also great. It just depends on how you want to define yourself as the subject in your own life and not an object. So like for me, I actually most days don't even wear a lot of makeup, and that feels good for me. And that's how I want to feel that day. And then the other days that I like, as the subject of my own life, I want to wear this cow print,
100%,
like,
yes.
This beauty product is a tool for that expression, but it's not because I'm trying to attract a man or like I want to like
not doing that for the male gaze, honey.
Yeah, I'm doing it for myself, and it feels really good to express my inner child that way. And I think the beauty industry on a whole, what can we do to close the gap? I think there's a lot of work to be done in terms of people just like doing the inner work and understanding themselves better. And when we are more honest with ourselves, I think messaging and positioning and product becomes more honest.
Yes, I love that. So you have a Wall Street background and finance background, so I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new. That I just heard from somebody at South by Southwest that the stats for how many women were getting funding has dropped to an all-time low of 1.3%. And prior to 2020, it was at the high of 2.2%. The fact that that's the high is like, oh my God. Why do you think it's going backwards when also the stats are that the female funded companies outperform historically male funded companies? What do you think is standing in the way of female funded businesses, even in beauty? They're not getting at the money.
I would want to take a deeper look at the data and figure out how all that's calculated. But I think we just need more women in seats of decision-making power. I was one of two people in my, Wall Street class of 100 who was a woman. I think just a lot of investors don't understand the industry or the personal experience. I think you can do research about the industry, you can do all the math around it and what makes sense profitability and growth-wise. But if you've not touched the product, you don't have that experience, it's hard to kind of like generate an investment thesis around it. It's like I can't speak to, I don't know, like F1. My partner like loves F1, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't trust myself to make a decision around that in any way. Why am I as a beauty founder pitching to people who've not used a beauty product? So I think
that's such a great point.
Yeah, I think teaching young women the confidence to go and seek those positions, if that's something that feels good for them, to be in decision-making positions.
Yes, and change Wall Street so you don't have to rage quit.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Jenny, for everybody listening, what is the one thing that a listener could do now to support you and your brand? Obviously, we're going to go buy Astrobabe, but what else? What can be supportive to you as you continue to build?
Oh, thank you for asking. Oh, man, I think sharing our story, it's not even about the specific product or buying it, but again, back to joy as resistance. Can we share more moments of aliveness and connection to self and others? That's how you can support us.
I love that. And tell everybody where to find you. Of course, we'll include it in the show notes, but where's the best place to connect with the brand and you?
We are on all socials at hey_Astrobabe.
I love it. I love it. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us today. So appreciated getting to know you and more of your story. Everybody listening at home right now, you're going to go follow them. You're going to go share their story, and you're going to go buy the cow print. And I want you to tag us in the picture afterwards, rocking your cow print eyeshadow. That is your direction for today. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Susannah. Thanks so much.
These conversations matter because who gets to speak shapes who gets to win. If this episode challenged how you see beauty, business, or the power behind the industry, share it with someone who needs to hear it. To connect or explore more, check the show notes. I'm Susannah Dellinger, and this has been Off the Shelf.